So you're thinking about getting into code? Awesome. But you're probably wondering what it actually takes to get started today. Well, we're going to break down the exact hardware, software, and even the AI tools you'll need to build your very first toolkit for 2026. Let's dive in.
You know, it all boils down to one super simple question. We use these machines all day, every day, but how do we actually get them to do what we want, to follow our instructions, and create something brand new?
Well, the answer is probably something you're already familiar with. You give it a list of very specific instructions. It's almost exactly like a recipe for baking a cake. And trust me, this one analogy is the key to understanding everything else.
Okay, so let's start right there with that fundamental idea. If you strip away all the complicated jargon, what even is coding?
At its heart, coding is really just about communication. See, computers don't speak English or Spanish or any human language, so we have to use these special programming languages, you've probably heard of them, like Python or Java, to write down our instructions in a way the machine can actually understand and follow, step by step.
And this is where that recipe analogy just clicks perfectly. The code you write, that's the recipe. It's your list of instructions. The computer, that's the chef, and its job is to follow your recipe to the letter. And that final app or website or game, well, that's the finished dish, ready to serve.
All right. Every chef needs a kitchen, right? So what kind of computer do you actually need to start writing these recipes? Let's talk hardware. And don't worry, it's probably a lot more accessible than you think.
So for a really smooth experience in 2026, you're looking at 4 key things: the processor, the memory, the storage, and the screen. These specs right here are what's going to make sure your computer can keep up with modern tools without slowing you down. Let's quickly break down why each one is important.
First up is RAM, which is just memory. Think of RAM as your kitchen countertop space. 16 gigabytes is pretty much the standard now because you're often running a bunch of things at once. Your code editor, a browser with a dozen tabs, maybe an AI tool. If you have less than that, your workspace gets crowded really fast.
Next is storage. And the key thing here, the most important part, is that it's an SSD, or solid-state drive. This is a total non-negotiable. An SSD is like having a super fast pantry where you can grab ingredients and open tools instantly. The older spinning hard drives, they're just way too slow for a modern workflow. And of course, you need to actually see what you're doing. A 1080p display is really the minimum you want, just so you have enough space on screen to see your code clearly. Oh, and here's a little pro tip. Getting a second monitor is like the #1 productivity boost for almost every developer out there.
So the most important thing to remember is this. You absolutely do not need some crazy expensive top-of-the-line supercomputer. A good, solid machine that hits these baseline specs is more than enough to get you started and on your way.
Okay, hardware sorted, now for the software. Think of this as your digital starter pack. There are really 3 essential tools that every single new coder needs to install.
The first thing you need is a code editor, sometimes called an IDE. This is your home base, your command center. It's way more than just a simple text file. The best way to think of it is as a digital notebook that's built specifically for writing and organizing your code.
And the go-to recommendation for pretty much everyone right now is Visual Studio Code, or just VS Code. There's a reason it's the most popular in the world. It's totally free, it's incredibly powerful, and it works with just about any programming language you can think of.
So, you've written your code in that digital notebook. The problem is, the computer still doesn't understand it. That's where you need a translator. This is a little program called a compiler or an interpreter, and its only job is to translate your human-readable code into the ones and zeros the computer can actually execute. Now this next tool, oh man, it's an absolute lifesaver. It's called version control, but really, it's the ultimate undo button for your entire project. It lets you save snapshots or versions of your work. So if you mess something up badly, you can just instantly rewind time to a version that worked. It's amazing.
The tool that everybody in the industry uses for this is called Git. And you'll almost always use it with a website called GitHub, which is kind of like a cloud backup for all those snapshots of your project. It's essential, whether you're working by yourself or with a huge team.
Okay, now we get to the part that has completely changed the game in just the last couple of years. Because in 2026, you're not coding alone anymore. It's time to meet your AI sidekick. And this brings up a really interesting question, right? Is coding still that classic image of a developer hunched over a keyboard in a dark room all by themselves?
Yeah, not really. The new normal is working with what's called an AI pair programmer. It's a tool that sits right there with you,
suggesting ideas, helping you fix problems, and just making you faster and smarter.
You'll basically see two main types of these AI assistants. First, you've got tools like GitHub Copilot. This thing lives right inside your code editor and suggests whole chunks of code as you're typing. Then you've got conversational AIs like ChatGPT or Claude, which are incredible for asking questions, explaining tricky concepts, or even helping you map out the whole plan for your app.
So there you have it. You've got the right computer, you've got the essential software installed, you've even got your new AI assistant ready to go. You have the complete toolkit. And that brings us to the last and, honestly, the most important choice. See, all these tools, they're just the beginning. The real question is, what are you excited to create? Because your answer to this question, whether you dream of building a cool website, a useful mobile app, or even programming a robot, that's what's going to guide your very next step. So, what will you build?